my friends, for years, Detroit fans knew exactly how it felt to watch the Lions rely on offense and hope the defense could just survive. It was always the same formula: light up the scoreboard and pray for one or two key stops to sneak out a win. But that era feels like a distant memory now. What we're seeing in Detroit is something we haven't seen in decades. A defense that you can trust. And that's not hype. That's reality under Kelvin Shepard. So smash that like button to show some love, and let's ride together. Shep's fingerprints are all over this unit. His ability to scheme players into positions where they can succeed has completely changed the tone of this defense. Compared to Aaron Glenn, this feels like a different universe. Shepard brings energy, humility, and a clear understanding of what modern offenses are trying to do, especially when it comes to mobile quarterbacks. His adjustments have been smart, quick, and effective. Against Kansas City, for example, when the zone coverage wasn't working and the team got burned, Shep didn't double down or get stubborn. He went right back to man coverage, trusted his guys, and it paid off. That's not arrogance, that's coaching instinct. The difference in player response is visible too. Amick Robertson recently said on a Monterey St. Brown's podcast that Kelvin Shepard has more energy and understands more. That's not just a compliment, it's an indictment of the old system. The players believe in this guy. They feed off his energy, and it shows in every snap, every tackle, every time the defense steps on the field with that "we got this" swagger that Detroit hasn't seen in ages. And you can tell it's working. The Lions aren't just hanging around anymore, they're dictating games. They're physically imposing their will, even against elite competition. This isn't about hoping for one big stop. It's about knowing they can control the pace of a game. That's a fundamental shift in identity. Of course, the offense hasn't disappeared. Jared Goff and company will get back to firing on all cylinders soon enough. But the fact that Detroit can now rely on its defense, truly rely on it, changes everything. It gives the entire team breathing room. And in the long run, it's what separates playoff teams from contenders. You look at the schedule and realize this isn't some easy ride either. 5-2 isn't an accident. This team has earned every bit of it. The Lions faced the Ravens in Baltimore when Lamar Jackson was healthy. They went up against Tampa Bay, who's no pushover. They've handled top-tier defenses like Cleveland. Every win has been built, not given. And now, heading into their next stretch, they've got Minnesota coming up, and let's be honest, the Vikings should be worried. If this Detroit defense keeps playing like this, that game could get ugly fast. What's maybe most impressive, though, is that Dan Campbell and his guys aren't getting caught up in the hype. They're not buying their own headlines. Campbell has drilled it into them: work first, talk later. You can see it in how they carry themselves. There's no ego, no celebrating too early, just focus. That's the mark of a mature, winning team. And reinforcements are coming back soon. Several key players are returning from injuries, and that's only going to strengthen the unit. The bye week couldn't have come at a better time, a chance to rest, recover, and reset before the second half of the season. The defense is hot, the offense is getting healthy, and for once, the Lions are sitting in a position of real control. Sure, the upcoming schedule still features some tough matchups: Commanders, Eagles, Dallas, but none of those teams feel unbeatable anymore. The Commanders aren't what they were last year. The Vikings are sliding. The Eagles are inconsistent. And when Dallas has to come to Detroit, that's going to be a statement game. The Lions are entering this stretch knowing that they've already weathered the hardest part. Right now, it's about keeping the momentum, staying disciplined, and continuing to believe in what's been built. The franchise has turned a corner, and you can feel it in every snap. There's a sense of control, of identity, that's been missing for too long. Because when you look closer, it's not just about the numbers, it's about the mindset. This defense doesn't flinch anymore. They don't panic when the opponent scores early or when they're backed up near their own goal line. There's a quiet confidence, a belief that someone will make a play. That's what Shep has built: accountability and trust. Each guy on that field knows his role, knows the system, and plays for the man next to him. That's not something you can teach overnight. That's culture. And it's not just about stars. It's about depth. You're seeing rotational players step in and make impact snaps because they're prepared, because they're coached to be ready. The tackling has improved, the coverage communication is tighter, and the defensive front is finally doing what fans have begged for: setting the tone physically. When you combine that with an offense that can still put up points in bunches, you have a formula that wins in December and January. It's also clear that this team learned from the scars of last year. When injuries hit, they didn't fold. When teams tested their secondary, January, they didn't crumble. Now, they adjust on the fly. Shep's not afraid to take risks, but they're calculated ones, and the players buy in because he's earned their respect. He's not screaming from the sideline out of ego. He's teaching, correcting, and building in real time. And while the national media might still hesitate to put Detroit among the elite, the locker room doesn't care. They see what's happening internally. They see the growth, the maturity, the structure. Dan Campbell deserves credit for that, but Shepard's influence on this defense can't be overstated. This isn't just a coach calling plays, it's a leader molding an identity. Now think about what's next. After the bye, the Lions face a stretch that could define their season. The Vikings, the Commanders, the Eagles, the Cowboys, it's a gauntlet, but one that can propel them straight to the top of the NFC if they handle business. And the truth is, this time around, no one's looking at those matchups and saying Detroit doesn't belong. They've earned that respect. The kind of respect that isn't given, it's taken. Even the NFC North race feels different. There was a time when the division went through Green Bay, when you just assumed Aaron Rodgers and the Packers would always be the obstacle. But look at it now. The Lions are setting the tone. They've got the balance, the discipline, and the leadership that the rest of the division lacks. If things break right, this team could walk into December with not just playoff hopes, but a legitimate shot at a top seed. The bye week offered something the Lions haven't had in a long time: peace. A chance to sit back, heal up, and watch the chaos unfold around the league. Watching Minnesota stumble, watching Dallas and Philly slug it out, watching other NFC teams fight for ground, all while Detroit quietly sits, preparing, confident. That's a position of strength. And if you think this fan base isn't feeling it, just look around. Ford Field is alive again. The fans have been through too many false dawns, but this feels different. It's not hype, it's substance. This team doesn't rely on luck, flashy plays, or one superstar to carry them. They win with grit, with unity, with coaching that finally matches the talent on the field. So as the Lions rest, retool, and get ready for the second half, one thing is clear: Detroit football has finally evolved. They're not pretending to be contenders. They are contenders. They've got the defense, they've got the leadership, and most importantly, they've got belief. But what about you, Lions fans? Do you think this team is ready to hold that top spot in the NFC and make a serious run for it? Drop your thoughts below. And if you believe this defense is for real, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around because the next video is already on the way. Detroit's story is just getting started, and you're going to want to be here when it unfolds. And when it does unfold, every one of us will remember this turning point, the moment the Lions stopped being a feel-good story and started being a real problem for the rest of the league. This isn't the underdog narrative anymore. This is a team that expects to win. You can feel it in the way players carry themselves during press conferences, the way coaches talk about accountability, and the way veterans are mentoring the younger guys. It's the culture we've all been waiting for, and it's finally here. The connection between Dan Campbell and Kelvin Shepard has become one of the most underrated storylines in football. Campbell's trust in Shep has allowed him to fully take control of the defense, and that partnership is paying off in ways fans couldn't have imagined 2 years ago. It's the perfect balance. Campbell brings the fire and identity, Shep brings the technical detail and composure. Together, they've built something that feels sustainable. This isn't a one-year surge, it's a foundation. The locker room vibe reflects that too. You hear it in player interviews, the constant mention of family, of accountability, of doing your job. It's not cliché anymore because the results are visible. Every week, different players step up. One week it's a defensive back making a clutch interception, the next it's a linebacker blowing up a key third down play. It's a collective effort, and that's the reason this team keeps finding ways to win even when things get messy. And let's be real, the schedule doesn't scare them. Earlier in the season, people pointed at this stretch as the one that would expose Detroit. But if you've watched closely, you know the Lions thrive on being tested. They went toe-to-toe with top-tier teams, handled adversity, and still came out stronger. The league is starting to realize what fans in Detroit have known for months. This team doesn't break. As for the offense, the talk about getting back on track isn't panic, it's perspective. Jared Goff and Ben Johnson know that with the defense carrying its share, they don't need to force anything. They can play smart football, control the tempo, and strike when needed. That balance is what championship teams are made of, not highlight reel stats, but complete football. The bye week has been a gift in that sense. A reset button before the real push begins. Players are healing up, chemistry is tightening, and the confidence level is sky high. when they come out of this break, expect the Lions to play some of their best football of the year. You can almost sense that the locker room understands what's at stake, not just another playoff run, but a chance to redefine what Detroit Lions football means for an entire generation. Fans have every reason to be proud. This rebuild that once looked endless has turned into a legitimate rise. The franchise that used to be the league's punchline is now forcing national analysts to take them seriously. And it's not because of hype or headlines, it's because the product on the field demands respect. So as we head into the next chapter of this season, keep that energy, Detroit. Keep showing up, keep believing, and keep proving the doubters wrong. The league might still be catching up to the idea that the Lions are for real, but the city already knows. This isn't a dream anymore. It's happening. And that's the thing about this version of the Detroit Lions. They don't just want to win, they want to change the standard. Every practice, every film session, every snap feels like a brick being laid in something much bigger than one season. You can sense that Shepard and Campbell aren't coaching for short-term glory. They're building a mindset that says, this is who we are now. No more moral victories, no more excuses. Winning is the expectation. The defense, once a liability, has turned into the team's emotional engine. Watch how the sideline reacts after a big third down stop. It's energy, it's unity, it's swagger. These players aren't just playing for numbers or headlines. They're playing for each other. That's what Shep has unlocked. Connection through responsibility. Every position group feels accountable, and that chemistry translates directly onto the field. You can see it in the eyes of players like Aiden Hutchinson, who plays with relentless passion, or in the poise of the secondary, which has stopped being a weakness and started being a weapon. It's funny how quickly the narrative can change. A year ago, people questioned if Detroit could even hang with physical teams. Now, other teams are the ones questioning if they can handle Detroit's physicality. That's a complete identity shift, and it starts up front. The Lions are winning battles in the trenches, disrupting game plans, and forcing opponents to adjust. That's championship DNA. And while fans might focus on the big plays, the subtle details are what make this defense special. The pre-snap communication is sharper. The gap discipline has improved. Players are tackling with better angles and trust. It's not flashy, but it's football at its purest form, execution over ego. That's the kind of defense that can travel anywhere, win in any weather, and hold up when the stakes are highest. Now, as the second half of the season approaches, the Lions are walking into something rare, control of their own destiny. No scoreboard watching, no dependence